It doesn't always mean the therapist has the most clinical skills, but it's the therapist that the patients can communicate best with or identify best with, or they just, some jokes when a joke is needed, or some seriousness when seriousness is needed, or whatever. Last week, I saw some Instagram reel of some movie producer who was trying to promote his movie, got rejected by every film festival, got rejected by Sundance Film Festival, South by Southwest, Cannes, the one in France or whatever, and the Toronto one, which I didn't even know that was a film festival in Toronto. But he was in New York City promoting it by having a movie screening in the back of like an old beat up van. And it was hilarious because it was like you could fit one person or two people in the back of this van. It was, and he's doing like a microphone, and a couple of people like Steven Spielberg's like daughter probably knows him and reshared it or whatever. And somehow that got it viral or attention or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny. And then the whole thing was, it was almost like, this is funnier than, like, is this better than your movie? Like, your movie is, I don't think it was comedy. And then like at the end, they had someone that watched the movie in the back of this van do a standing ovation, but they were like bent over at 90 degrees because you can't stand up in the back of like a regular utility van. So it was pretty funny. Again, just different ways to get attention on the internet.
Yeah. I think it's the opposite, right? It's like whatever everybody else is doing, if you're locked out, you can create and throw your own party. It was a great, I don't know, beer commercial a billion years ago where these guys wanted to get into a club, but the club was like packed. There was a bouncer, velvet rope. And then they were across the street. There was this empty bar that, of course, no girls were into, and the guys wanted to talk to girls. So what they did was they went over and snuck over and stole the velvet rope. They took like a blind beggar who was like sitting there, and they put him as the bouncer. And next thing you know, that club is full because it's the illusion of scarcity. It's, if I can't get in, I want to get in. If I can't buy it, I'll do anything I can to be able to get it somehow. And I think that you had mentioned you wanted to talk about something about a $200 intro visit. Are we using scarcity? Are we using like reverse psychology of pricing?
I just, as an example, before we even get into that, I use an example we have a new patient, one of my therapists, Porus Mehta. He's my top therapist. He's excellent, highest producing. We didn't hear from a patient. He evaluated a patient, and for whatever reason, like we only had the patient's email address and we hadn't had their phone number. I checked the intake paperwork and I grabbed the phone number and I texted the patient last night. But before that, it was just email. You and I know how bad, most people are with email. So like, they did the first visit evaluation, and then typically we want to like book out at least the next visit or two, like in person. But like sometimes things happen. Maybe it was rushed, or like the client had to go somewhere or whatever. This was like an office visit in Midtown. Long story short, no reply from my therapist, sending an email. I sent an email, no reply. Got the text message, the phone number, sent a text message last night, and here's what it said. So I think this is more urgency. So it said basically like before, here we go. I texted the client. I said, hi, Susan, it's Dr. Dave Kittle at Concierge Pain Relief, PT. I know you might be busy traveling. Want to get you booked for next visit before Porus gets filled up. What's your calendar look like? ? So now I know there's other folks that might watch or listen to this like, yes, of course, this should be automated, or you could have this automated with text or emails or whatever. But when you do that, it shows up as the green text, which is okay, but like it's like an Android text or like a reminder from your dentist or whatever, and sometimes you're numb to that. So I think there is still value in this manually sending it, or at least having a blue iMessage. If the person has an iPhone, it shows up as like a text message, it's from a real person. And I'm being true about this. There is scarcity in Porus' schedule. He's very popular. We get a lot of word of mouth from him. He wants to accept as many new evaluations, new clients as possible. And so now, is he actually going to be full, this week? Maybe, maybe not. But this is a way to use scarcity. And I think urgency would be like, Porus is going to be traveling next week. So you really only have today, Thursday, or tomorrow, Friday, to see him if you want to get in before he's away.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Cialdini, who wrote like the book Persuade or Influence, talked about
And persuasion.
Yeah,
love his stuff.
He talked about buying a TV and said that there was this kid who was helping him buy a TV and said, listen, this is the last of this model. When this is gone, you're gone. And he said, even though I knew that this could be a tactic, if I went back a week later and found that there was another TV, he's like, I think I would have been hurt. Like, even that brief relationship is a relationship, and you want to make sure you know that. So talk to me about this idea, like between a $200 intro visit versus a complimentary visit versus a normal full rate visit for a first visit. We see people talking about this all the time. People have very strong opinions that you should never discount your services. What do you do?
Yes.
What do you see works?
Yes. Well, always tweaking, always testing. Historically, when I say historically, let's say the past 2 to 5 years, like I wouldn't do any discounts. I wouldn't do any change. Like I would never go lower. If anything, physical therapists typically will have the first visit more expensive, right? Because that's how we're taught. Like the evaluation through insurance, the evaluation plus some treatment usually gets paid more. Medicare pays, if you bill 4 or 5 units the first visit, if you do that, I don't know. I don't bill Medicare, but the first visit with Medicare pays, $120 or something approximately. And then the follow visits pay, $100 or whatever for a 4-unit visit. So historically, physical therapists with pricing will price the first visit higher and then all the follow visits at a lower dollar amount. So like it would be, I don't know, $250 for the evaluation and then follow-ups are $200 or whatever. What we're doing now is kind of the opposite of that, right? So like historically, I said the past 2 to 5, whatever years, it was just like whatever our rate is at that time. If the rate was $250 or $275 or whatever for every visit, it was like the same for the first visit as well as the second and onward. Now that I'm like basically out of patient care, with me, it was kind of like if I was treating the patient or if my wife Annie was treating the patient, it was kind of like we're so confident on the phone, like we're just like, take it or leave it. Like it is what it is. Like we don't do discounts. We're trying to be like everything that doesn't discount. We're trying to be like, luxury, like Tiffany's, like Ferrari. Yeah. We're not, we don't do discounts. Like if you're even asking for discounts, like you might not be a right fit, which kind of can make sense in some cases. But recently I've been testing a $200 intro visit as a way. It also depends. Like I think you want to be ethical, so it's kind of like you kind of have to, I think, maybe offer it to everyone at a certain period of time, as opposed to like picking and choosing. But I want to get my therapists into their home, or if they come to our office, I want them to experience it one time, because I truly believe once a random cold stranger, whatever they have, back pain, sciatica, balance issues, walking issues, I don't care if they're 40, 35, 40 years old, or if they're 80, it doesn't matter. I believe, because I've interviewed and hired and trained and mentored all my therapists, I just want them to I want that client to meet them, have 1 hour with this individual, and oftentimes it's going to be their therapist for life. And so it's a little bit of a loss up front for the long-term value of this conversion, this interaction over time, which in some cases, like we have some patients where they're with us for, 4 years. My wife has a client, it's got to be 4 or 5 years. So Horace has a patient from last year that I switched over from me to him. He's coming up on 1 year with that client. What is it like? Let's say we're charging $350 for the first visit in general. And if I'm pitching you, Jimmy, if I'm like, hey, so you're asking what our rates are. We checked your insurance and, we accept out-of-network benefits, but your plan doesn't have out-of-network benefits. So if you wanted to work with us, you certainly can. We would love to work with you. If you wanted to work with us, it would be via self-pay. And then you would say, oh, well, how much do you guys charge? And I would say something like, well, the first visit is $550 if it's on a Saturday or Sunday, or $350 per visit if it's Monday through Friday. And either I can use the $200 intro visit as a downsell if I feel some resistance or whatever, which sometimes that can maybe feel icky. So what I've been doing is just saying like, hey, it's $550 per visit on weekends, $350 per visit Monday through Friday. However, so I use the double price anchor with a double, like 2 higher numbers, double price anchor, and I could just drop, if I wanted to, immediately to, but the first visit, Jimmy, is $200 as an intro rate. So for you get the full experience. It's still a full 1 hour, whether our therapist is coming to your home or if you're coming to our Midtown office. It's $200 for the first visit, because we don't want price to be the barrier. We don't want price to be the barrier for you to even try the service and experience the value, experience the difference. So, I mean, and that's the difference. But like, so then at that point, it's like, well, is 0 better than 200? Because like, I'm fine with, if it's 200, then I'm maybe missing out on the other 150, the difference between 200 and 350. So if I'm okay giving up the 150, would I be okay with giving up the next 200 just to have a new client experience our value, our difference? They went to some in-network office. Maybe oftentimes we hear it definitely weekly, almost daily, that they might have tried somewhere else and it was too busy or whatever. So I want to kick this back to you, Jimmy, as a therapist, or as who you are in the physical therapy world. I'm okay with, and I'm kind of, it's kind of in real time of testing this. I'm okay with giving up like the full value, the full dollar amount, and almost slicing it in half. And then at that point, it's like, well, today we have a physician, a semi-retired physician that Porus is going to treat. And he was referred by someone who has been with us for a year. And I was like, well, on behalf of so-and-so that referred you, as a thank you to them, because they've been with us for a year, and also because this person was asking about insurance, and they're a semi-retired physician. We know how that is in terms of like what they're used to, and they're used to using their insurance. And so I said, the first visit is on us. Like, we don't even need your credit card on file. I want you to experience the value. I want you to experience Porus. Porus is working with your friend that referred you. Even though we got that warm referral, that warm introduction, it's like, if I'm okay saying, hey, Jimmy, it's $200 instead of 350, like I'm not going to make 350. If I say 200, then it's almost like, does the first visit, like, I might as well lose a little bit more to, in stepping back in 30,000 foot view, have more conversions of people, have a longer lifetime values, and more conversions of people that stay with us for weeks or months or years, whatever they want, whatever they need, without the financial hurdle in the beginning. Any thoughts, any takeaways from this?
It's locks and keys, man. I mean, some locks and some keys are going to work together and some aren't. What I've been told and didn't believe in the beginning was the people who are trying to negotiate just based on price, there's always going to be someone who's going to do it for less. I don't know why you're buying this $50,000 car. I just drove past a guy selling a car at his front lawn for $350. What's the problem? Because you understand how you get from A to B matters, or reliability, or style, or comfort, or features. And then the flip side of that is the $500 client is going to demand so much more work than the $5,000 client, ironically. Like, there's a great series on Instagram about working with people with money. And he's like, rich people will give you money and then they'll hound you like, where's my results? Right? That's this guy's angle, right? The ultra rich will just like, where do I send the money? And can't wait for an update in 3 months. So it's like, what problems are you trying to solve? You know, some people are probably watching this going like, these guys are, I can't believe these guys, because I want to give physical therapy everybody deserves it. And I'm saying absolutely, but you're either providing it, someone is paying. It's either you as the provider, an insurance company, or does someone value the thing that you're doing? So it depends on what business you want to be in.
On that, I know we mentioned this a bunch of times on the show before. I agree. Healthcare is a universal right. Healthcare is a right. Everyone deserves physical therapy. But in my practice, I just cannot serve everyone. I cannot serve the Medicaids. I could probably, but I can't really, serve the Medicare population, because I'm basically paying my therapist what Medicare pays. Whatever Medicare pays 100%, like full, I'm basically paying my therapist that. Right. So I can't serve, and
you got to have a margin.
Yeah, I can't serve everyone if, even when they truly need it, they don't have the financial resources. Like, there's a social safety net, there's other clinics, there's other practices that accept all those payers. So there are others that do it, that offer it. We just happen to kind of serve like a subset of folks.
Yeah, car companies have levels, right? You have a Toyota and you have Lexus, and then what did their lower end used to be? Scion? Do they still make Scions? I don't think they make Scions anymore. But that was the idea.
I don't know.
Was we can make a basic model, like making cars is making cars. We buy different parts or different levels of quality. We charge you for that, and you're thrilled about it. So we want you in the family, right? The idea with some of these car companies is when it was, I believe it was Scion. Someone's going to correct me. It was Scion, Toyota, Lexus, but they all have these different levels. The idea was you buy what you can afford, and then when you can afford more, you step up because you want to buy luxury, right? So we're here where you want. Well, why wouldn't you just put the best brake pads that last the longest on every single car? Because the best brake pads cost more because they're better. Lucas chiming in. I got Lucas on the show for an episode coming up very soon. We recorded it a little while ago. Lucas saying this is wisdom for price setting on levels. He sees a lot of entrepreneur ideas want to start with a low price, not realizing you aren't going to keep a client when and if you try to raise it. Yeah, I mostly agree with that, but I think you can raise prices after a while.
I've also mentioned this on the show, but Lucas specifically, I did something in terms of raising prices that I put on the show maybe a few months ago. I think we screen shared it. Lucas, in your new client paperwork, there's got to be a line that says cost per visit. And in that, so we're right now, June 26th, right now, whatever your rate is, when you're pitching the patient, you're saying, hey, I charge $100, $200, whatever your rate is, 150, whatever the rate is. Let's say June, July, August. You could say September 1st or October 1st. October 1st I like because it's the start of the fourth quarter. You can say, but on October 1st, there's going to be an increase of 4%. And then January 1st of 2026, there's going to be an increase of whatever, based off the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. You could say it's going to be another 3 to 4% increase of rates on January 1st. And you have the patient sign all of this to do the first visit with you. Now, built-in price raises is, I cannot believe I just started doing this in 2025. I've been practicing way too long to leave this money on the table. So when you go to raise rates on people, and yes, it's awkward if you don't have this context and you don't kind of remind them the value and you're nervous and you're afraid that they're going to say no or whatever, put it in the new client paperwork and say, hey, you could say percent, like we do 3 or 4 or 5% raises in the paperwork. Or you could say on October 1st of this year, it's going to be $20 more. Or instead of $150, it's going to be $170. And then on January 1st, it's going to be $195.
Yeah. I'd rather I think that's fine. I think, again, locks and keys, like whatever fits. I'd rather just do it annually and if you're going to change it, if you're going to change the temperature, if I'm going to go touch the thermometer, I'm not doing a degree. I'm going to do 3 or 4 or 5 degrees. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just do an annual 10%. That's personal. This way you have to have that conversation once, and this is what we do. I know people are uncomfortable with that, especially for some reason, people in healthcare, because they want to help everyone. I get it. I'm the same way, but you can't. Like, the lifeboat analogy needs to be beaten into some people's heads, which is if the lifeboat, right? Everybody just jumped off the Titanic, and they didn't have inflatable boats back then, but if they did, and on the side it says can hold 10 people, and you've got you plus 9 people, but there's one more person, you are sinking 10 people to try to save one. All of you are gone. Now, I'm not saying there's not creative ways and things that you can do, like, I don't know, call another boat. But if you don't raise your rates, you won't be in business. You help no one. Or you go work for a large institution that has unlimited lifeboats, but then you will get paid accordingly. And then you will be frustrated. And then I will see you in a Facebook group and complaining. You cannot have it both ways.
Anonymously.
Dude, I remember like 6 months ago, I had no problem with anonymous posting. And I have like I think you can post anonymously for like 1% of the time. Like, you're asking.
Legal, just a legal thing. That's it.
Yeah, like legal, or like you're saying like I'm at this job, and if I said who I was, that people would know me, right?
Yep.
I now think it is absolute trash because everyone just does it because no one wants to be held accountable, or people.
Amen. Thank you for finally seeing the light and coming to my side.
It's just the legal. It's just the legal, or like you honestly want an answer, but you'd be nervous about retaliation. But now everybody does it. And it's for 2 reasons. One, because they're wuss. They're just a wuss. They won't stand behind their words, right?
Yep.
Or they're poking the bear and they're starting fires, right? Which I do. and I have no problem putting my name on.
But you do it publicly, and we
Correct.
respect that. Yeah.
I physically wouldn't actually know how to do an anonymous post. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I'm just like, why?
It's unbelievable. Anonymous posts in the Uncaged group talking about, like, asking about marketing tips, and the post said, don't tell me about word of mouth. Give me other marketing tips. And the post anonymous.
Don't tell me about.
I want to comment so bad, and the Tony Maritato wisdom comes into my ear, and it's just like, Dave, let it go. Don't worry about it. And I move on. I don't engage in the post. I move on. Thank you, Tony.
I had Tony's voice in my head the other day. I might have commented and deleted it because I was like, this is going to go nowhere. But I don't think I could resist. But yeah. Don't tell me about word of mouth. Don't tell me about the result of really good marketing. Just tell me exactly the first 3 things I can do for $0. Okay. Let's review that again. Tony, you just joining us 23 minutes in. We've already solved pretty much all the problems. Dave's going to do automatic price increases percentage by quarter. I said just do it annually. When you increase prices, do you bake it into the cake? Do you put it into new patient paperwork? Do you bring it up when it happens? Is it on a schedule when you're going to raise rates, or annual?
It's one of those things where whenever we want to raise prices, I think you're moving into, and we might have discussed this, a new tier of clientele. It's not like I'm trying to get the same patients that are coming to pay $20 more.
Right.
It's okay. I've been treating this community. Now I'm going to move up a level. I'm moving into Dave's world. I'm not going, the person who is paying $99. I'm not going to 110. I'm going to 300.
Right.
We just did this with rent. So we own a commercial piece of real estate. We had to readjust rental rates. We were going up 40%. Well, the tenants are never going to feel good going up with 40% rental increase. We got to get new tenants. That's just part of it. And so I think if you're going to raise rates, you do it for real. You go double or somewhere in that ballpark, and you look at working with a new clientele.
Yeah, Dave was talking about, I've seen people do this before, like 3% every quarter. And I'm just like, it feels like a nickel and dime. Yeah. Like I'd rather just be like this. You know how many times, and I hope he watches this, and I'm going to send this to him, because my barber is great. Rod is awesome. I've been going to him since I moved back to my hometown for 5 years in COVID. And I tell him all the time, see, they're smart. They use an app to book. Like, really, I've seen him say no to walk-ins because dude is booked, right? And I'm like, Rod, like, you're booked all the time. Like, what's the deal? And he's like, yeah, man, just, been working for, 3, 4, 5 years here. And I'm like, time to raise your rates. And like the guy who actually owns the shop, because a barber shop is a great example, right? And there are models like this in PT. So Rod owns this chair. And I don't really know the exact pricing because it's none of my business. But he doesn't own the shop. And the guy who owns the shop is like, if Rod is busy, Rod should get more. And I looked at him and I'm like, Rod, time to raise your rates, buddy. And the guy who owns the shop starts laughing. And I'm like, why? He goes, I've been telling him that for 3 years. And he's like, but Rod is a bleeding heart healthcare provider, just like the rest of us. He wants to give everybody haircuts for $30. I'm like, my man, but it's 2025 and everything costs more. So you got to raise your rates. You got to weed some of those people out. And ironically, I'm like, Rod, would you rather work less and make more? Well, how about just work the same and make more? Yes. The only way, tips aren't going to fall from the sky. Charge me more. I don't want to go to anywhere else. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to go through the effort of finding another haircut guy. If you think haircuts are that difficult, what about healthcare for your nana or healthcare for yourself? I'm telling you, people will do it. And the people that won't, we're barely hanging on anyway. Make room for the people who will. Make room on the lifeboat for people who value you.
So, I was thinking about that this weekend. We're in a heat wave. I don't know how it is in New York. I had to call my HVAC guy because my AC unit was on the fritz. I love this guy. I've known him for 20 years. He's really, really struggling to get around, and everything is hard, and arthritis and all this stuff. He always undercharges me. I always literally try to give him 50 or 100 more dollars than he wants to charge me. He came out on Father's Day, Sunday, because I said, hey, Jeff, got this problem. I don't know what to do. Send him a couple video clips. And it's the same thing. I'm like, Jeff, I need you to stay in business. I am happy to pay you more than you're trying to charge me. because I want you to be here. Dave, do you have anything like that, either as you on the consumer side or you on the therapist side? I mean, we talk about tips, we talk about rewards, but I'm like, for something like this, I am happy to pay double what you're charging just so that I know you're going to be here and you're going to help me out when I need it.
Tony, you're a mensch. I've said it many times here before. No, New Yorkers have not said. I think we're typically priced well because no one is really giving us tips. No one is. I mean, once in a while in the first visit when it's self-pay, a family member, if they're setting it up, and they might say like, "Is there like, on the phone, is there like gratuity? Like I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Like I'm just out of touch or whatever. I just want to make sure like we're good." Those folks we love is great. But most of the time, clients, patients, they're not asking, for tips or anything. They're not asking like, can we pay you 2x? Like we just had a record 2 weekends ago, new milestone, new client started with my therapist Pores. I was telling Jimmy about my therapist Pores, who was just rocking it. The client's first 2 visits with us were on a Saturday and a Sunday, $550 each per visit. So it never, ever have we had a patient start paying at the highest dollar amount that we're even offering right now on a Saturday or Sunday, where we're grossing over $1,000 in 2 days. So that is awesome. And so maybe because we're priced fairly reasonably or high or premium for a 60-minute visit for a plan of care. So no patients are saying like, "Hey, can we pay you more? Like we feel like you're struggling or whatever." Like, like maybe, I don't know if that's New York. I don't know if that's our pricing. I don't know what.
We talked about this a while ago. How often are you looking at your competitors' pricing or doing phone calls, or if they're not sharing it publicly? I'm guessing with Dave pretty often. Like you seem to be on top of that guy. Like how often are you checking other New York City providers in your area being like, where are we? Are we in the top, bottom, middle? Not often, or?
I think we're somewhere, I would say, in the 3/4 to the top of the spectrum. I don't know. I don't check. I have no idea.
Really?
And I don't no. I mean, in terms of if you're a physical therapist, you're either in network, right? So you're either like with Spear or like one of these other places, or Fox, and they take Medicare, or you're out of network or self-pay. So the self-pay, if you're a newbie, you're going to start real low, like I did, like $100 a visit, just literally just $100 just out of the sky, literally just no reason at all.
Yep.
And then over time you get better and you get more clinical skills and confidence and all that, and then you kind of go up the rungs of the ladder over time. Let me just mention, I'll drop this, and I want to hear your guys' feedback, but I think the 3 to 5% raise intermittently is a better move financially. I have a few anecdotal stories when you make the big jump in price raise because you haven't done it in a while. We've had people stop. We've had people stop because of it. So I want to say, when you guys say, go, I don't know, 10 or 20 or whatever percent, or Tony 2x, I strongly disagree. I've seen it not work. I've seen it blow up in our faces.
But wait, what happened like 2, 3, 4 weeks or months after that? Your schedule fills back up, right? And then math that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you
boil a frog like slowly, or you can throw the frog in the boiling water. And yes, some are going to jump out. Understood. But like, if this was a larger organization, because how many therapists do you have with you right now?
We have like 6 that are like 2 full-timers, Annie and I, a few part-timers, PRN.
We got to do an episode with Porus where Dave isn't there and he can. I
want to bring him on. He's sharp. He's from India, and I didn't know this, but Bombay apparently is kind of like a little Manhattan. So when he came here and we were going through the interview process, he's like, oh yeah, the luxury and the status and the ego and all that, financial stuff like that. He's like, that's like, Bombay is kind of like the little Manhattan. So he understood our ideal client. I'm going to do probably some podcast episodes with him as well, like coaching stuff that we'll do internally, and then with his permission, we'll put it publicly.
Yep.
Yeah, growth is always hard. I mean, we're going to be strapped for cash probably for the next several months while we find a new tenant. But to Jimmy's point, once a new tenant comes in, this is the new price point. They understand this is what they're paying. Whereas death by 1,000 cuts, I don't want to just keep getting a couple more bucks from the person that's there. They're never going to feel good about it. The exchange is always going to feel bad because, well, I was just paying this and now you want me to pay this and next year I'm going to pay that. And no, I just want to bring somebody new in, let that person go out and it just change things.
Now, I think a better way for continued growth is if you don't have, listen, you guys are saying if the person, you raise your prices really big, then some balk at that and stop, and then you fill up your schedule with the new leads, the new patients at the higher price point. Yes. If
your ceiling becomes your floor.
Yeah. Oh, but if I can get new patients in at that price point, if Tony can get new tenants at that rate, it's not guaranteed, folks.
No,
that's not guaranteed.
But if you don't, you're guaranteed to stay there. Right? Scott says, why not just keep your current clients at their current rate, but increase rates for all new clients? This is what you could do what I do or say, and Tony and Jimmy might say something different, but Scott, these are the folks that if they're going to stay with you long term, these are the ones where it makes sense to do whatever the consumer price index cost of living increases every year, typically in the 3 to 5% range. I've had in my paperwork sometimes 3 to 7%, and I say 7% is the max of increase, and that's over a 6 or 12-month period. The people that love you, that continue to work with you, you can still have those 3 to 7% price raises built into the paperwork for those people. Because here's what happens, guys. I'm telling you, I've been doing this long enough, getting folks historically, before I even had a credit card processor, we're getting cash from people. If you keep someone at the same dollar amount for more than a year or two, they get accustomed to that. They think you're never going to raise rates on them. Right. And then guess what happens when you get more confidence, you get more clinical skills, you get busier, you're raising rates on everyone else. Then you go back to this person, this family, this client, whatever, this patient, and you say, hey, I've been charging you, $150, whatever, for way too long. And now it's $200. And you're going from $150 to $200, and that $50 increase, whether someone's paying cash or credit card or whatever, oftentimes is too big of a jump, and you will lose them. So if you're gonna do what Jimmy and Tony say, you better have a plan to fill those slots in your schedule, because you're probably, if you go for a big jump, you're going to lose some people. Get ready to lose them. You have to be prepared for them to walk away and never talk to you ever again. And that's okay. That's business. That happens. You have to be ready for them to leave your world forever. And then you also have to have the next step, which is the marketing, the relationships, the referrals, the leads, whatever, to get more people at $200 to fill your schedule. And that's not easy in this current world with costs of, everything. So that's just my 2 cents. Go ahead.
So going to Scott's point, the thing is, you got to decide. I got to decide, how much am I willing to lose? How much am I willing to spend to keep that person on my schedule? Look, I've got people out there. They've been coming for years. They don't pay any more than they did a decade ago.
And that's horrible. That's wrong.
That is money that is coming out of my pocket. I am literally putting hundreds of dollars out there just so they can keep coming. You know, and this is where we have to look at this in reality. There's opportunity cost. We're giving up upside potential to allow them to continue to come. There is that side of it. And then the other side of it is, okay, so from what Dave's saying is, all right, it was $150, now it's $200. There's a $50 bump. Well, if it's a $50 bump for the same thing, then why is somebody going to do that? I wouldn't approach it in that way. I would say, okay, look, guys, I'm maturing as a therapist. We're getting better at this. I really think we're going to bring in $300 of additional value on top of what you've been buying, because this is really what we need to do to achieve the goals. And that extra $300 is costing you an extra $50 because,
I love that. I love how you're presenting it.
Yeah, it can't just be you're getting the same old thing, just charging you more money.
Right.
we're introducing these shockwave, new fit, whatever you want to bring in. You're getting amenities, added services, new carpet, new paint. Like, we're going to liven the place up.
New certification, new Con Ed.
Maybe. Yeah.
I wouldn't talk about the Con Ed. I'd talk about the result.
Yeah.
We've now taken training to get better results, right? Like Chris Do or Gary Vee would tell you to focus on the value side of the value price seesaw. I was looking at it. I'm looking at new cars, and I just picked one. I could have waited an extra month and got a sunroof, and it would have been, I did the math and asked the guy, it would have been like $20 more per month to have a sunroof over a car, over like however many months. And I was like, on principle, every time I got in the car, I would have been like, that cost me $20 this month. I don't want it. But had it been included, I don't even think I'd paid attention. The way he framed it, well, I could get to the sunroof, but it'll take longer and it'll be just a few more dollars. I'm like, my man, I got some buddies and a saw. That ain't $20 a month times 60 months. Like, how much is that sunroof? And that turned, I was like, no, I want this stock. But
yeah, you got the mechanic on the other side of your driveway, right? That guy.
Yeah.
He could cut the hole right in
the saw. I could make the hole. It's just not going to be very pretty or watertight when we're done with that. But like, that's a bad way to make the, what he should have done is bundled a bunch of things that were going to be there anyway and been like, well, that's why they do the package. We'll give you the sport package. We give you the snow package. We give you the off-road package. Because if they tried to sell you those things individually, nobody would take them because it would feel like they were getting nickel and dimed versus getting a lot more for just, I'm expecting to pay more if I get more. But the question is, what's going to tip the seesaw?
So what'd you go with? The Lambo, the Lotus, the Ferrari?
McLaren. Oh man, I went smart and reliable. I went the Toyota Camry. I rented one, which I was actually thinking about you guys the other day. So now in the job that I'm doing, I'm traveling a lot. I'm renting a lot of cars because I'm going all over the place. And I was in the market for a new car. And I was like, man. And I'm just thinking like, Enterprise or Avis, whatever, they just buy cars. I don't know how they pick which cars they have. But gosh, it's a test drive. It's a paid test drive. And I test drove one. You know how you do it. You just select, they don't guarantee which exact car. They just tell you what type, full size SUV, whatever you need. And I got a Toyota Camry, the hybrid one. So it's part battery and part, gas. And 2 weeks later, I was shopping and I was like, I want that one because I had fun with that for 3 days. To me, it seems like just a power move. I'm not sure if enough car companies are taking advantage of this, like maybe giving exclusivity to an enterprise. Like if you're a Toyota being like, we want to do all your cars. I don't know. Like to me, you can't get better than that. It's a test drive for several days, love or hate.
So let's talk about how we can bring that into what we do as physical therapy. So before I came on here, you guys, I was here at 8:30. My PTA comes in. He's like, Tony, we need you. So I go out there. Patient that I had been seeing. I think we had done 3 visits. She was miserable. She was like, I don't know what we did. We did these bicep curls and we had never done them before. And I'm dying. I've been in pain since Monday. And I flip into, okay, PT mode. What's going on? What do we do? She had said something that was really interesting to me, though. She had been to other physical therapists. She came to us. We weren't the first choice, but now she was like, I don't want to go anywhere else. She said her husband said, why don't you just cancel? Do you think they're going to listen to you? And she was like, oh, yeah, I know he will. And I did. I'm like, look, come here. We'll do 15 minutes. I'll kind of desensitize some stuff and get you out of here. Now, I wanted to come on the podcast, so that might have been a little bit of it. But the reality is, like, I don't care if you're scheduled for an hour. If you need 10 minutes, I'll give you 10 minutes. Like, it makes no difference to me. There are patients out there that should test drive different therapists. Dave and Jimmy and me, we're going to be very different in how we approach things. We're going to have different personalities, different treatment philosophies. And I feel like patients, they're going in blind. I mean, imagine buying a car that you've never seen. You don't know the color. You don't know what it is. You're just getting it. That's what therapy is. How do we find a way to allow patients to test drive different therapists to find the skill set match, the personality match, maybe the political or religious disposition match? Like, they have to be able to choose who they want to work with, knowing what it is that they're getting. How can we do that?
Yeah, PT is ambiguous, right? Like, because you've done it, it's bad. But if you have a better PT that fits, the fit is the thing. So how do you do that? Gosh.
Well, I think one way is Jimmy mentioned the mascot for physical therapy. Jimmy.
I did?
You don't remember you mentioned an animal as the mascot
Oh, the chameleon.
physical therapy?
The chameleon.
The chameleon. I am a chameleon. I worked outpatient ortho. I can work with anyone that's 80 years old, 90 years old for gait imbalance. I've worked temporarily back in 2015 or 16 or something at an outpatient pediatric clinic and working with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds with autism and developmental delay. I think there's certain therapists, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but like I can adapt to different situations and have some level of relationship or understanding or whatever. And not every therapist can do it, but the more therapists that are adaptable to different situations, I think could fit that, Tony. I think they could fit, like you said, Jeremy, your PTA. Like, he's very personable. It doesn't always mean the therapist has the most clinical skills, but it's the therapist that the patients can communicate best with or identify best with, or they just, some jokes when a joke is needed, or some seriousness when seriousness is needed, or whatever. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. You're right. And I'm sure you can do it. I can do it. I think the people watching this probably can do it, Scott. But I don't think we can depend on that. I think there is a huge percentage of the PT population that could but refuse to do that. My way or the highway. This is what we're going to do, and then there's a lot of, we're I don't know if it's left brain, right brain, I don't know, but it's like, no, this is the way it's done. This is the formula. This is what we do. We're very analytical, and this is the treatment for that condition. And, I don't want to depend on the person. I want to build the system that allows any person to succeed. And so I would say what Dave is doing, what I've been doing, this showing it on video, allowing patients to see how you interact with your patients, what you say, the inflections of your voice, what you look like. Yeah. There are going to be people that don't want to work with me because of what I look like. That's okay. I want them to know that before they're coming into my clinic, so they can make that decision ahead of time. I think video is the key to that.
Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, video. I was just about to say video, Tony. No one does it better. The more therapists and practices that are putting out video, the more they can see in your clinic, and they could even kind of pick and choose, like, oh, I like this therapist for this reason and that therapist for that reason. This therapist is kind of goofy. This therapist is very serious, or more athletic, or more less athletic and looks more like me, like a regular, average Joe. So right. I was about to say video. Of course, Tony does so much video. He took the words out of my mouth.
There's a reason people had different favorite new kids or members of the Backstreet Boys. It's like, this is my thing, or no. How could you like that? It's not. So I was playing around a little bit with some ideas while you guys were talking, because Scott had said, hey, listen, this sounds like a really, really great steal this strategy idea. I don't know. If you're a big enough car company and things are getting tight enough, do you buy Avis or do you buy Enterprise? Now you control the entire fleet. You could make it, if you're Toyota who buys Enterprise, you could make Toyota exclusive. It's a showroom on wheels, right? Now you control their email address, their phone number. When they get out, did you have a good experience or a bad experience? I think a lot of people might tiptoe and say, well, if it's a bad experience, if I lock them in and they only can rent Toyotas, it's a bad experience, they're never going to buy. I got news for you. They were never going to buy anyway. I'd rather have you love me or hate me. In fact, that middle mayonnaise issue is worse. Have like a like it's kind of all right. Could you subsidize the cost of renting? Like, maybe now you give deals like, hey, listen, we can do a 3-day trial for $100, and it's $100 if you then buy within the next 6 months. Something like that. Right now, you're just incentivized for renting more. Now, I know some of these companies they sell cars because they want to be able to buy new cars, keep their fleet updated. So they do have the option of, like, you can go to Enterprise and buy used cars, but the good ones get snatched up. this is where like,
really used cars.
Yeah, you have no idea, man. Like some of those things smell like old armpit for no reason. And you're like, I'm smoking with armpit, or back in the day when smoking was a little bit more popular, like you'd get people who just smoked in it and they didn't like do anything, and then you smell like an ashtray for a week. So how do you still have a strategy for healthcare? While we were talking, I was thinking like flights, man. Like if you ran a clinic, would you want 6 of the same therapist, or would you want 6 different therapists?
Different,
my thing
obviously.
is get different therapists, right? You
Absolutely.
Swiss Army knife for all of them instead of having just one screwdriver over and over again. So they're saying like mini trials, like 3 paid sessions, but you're sell it as you're gonna try instead of, oh, I get switched around. Be open from the start. You are going to work with 3 different therapists. And the reason we do this is we're so varied, and PT and your needs might be so different. We're going to try to align you. So your first 3 visits are actually going to be trials. Now we're going to talk to each other. We're all going to know, what we did and stuff like that, but it's on purpose. So it's like a flight of beers. This is a test drive, right? It's on purpose as a test drive. The other suggestion was pop-up. I used ChatGPT for this too. A pop-up clinic demos. We've seen people do this. Like how car rental companies are at airports. Why isn't that PT at a CrossFit gym? Not permanently, but why aren't you doing pop-ins and things like that? So be where the people are who might value your services. Or do a rent-a-provider day, free agent Fridays. A local PT joins a CrossFit box or sports team once a month, treats people on site, builds relationships, the whole 9, then follows up with, hey, by the way, I'm available here. I'm only 5 minutes away. So that's what we thought. That's what ChatGPT thought about how we steal the strategy of Toyota buying Enterprise, which they should.
If Tony doesn't have any thoughts on that, I wanted to ask him what we covered in the beginning, because Tony was out. So earlier in the episode, I was talking with Jimmy about right now testing for us for a self-pay. So typically it's like what I just said, like $550 for a weekend visit, $350 Monday through Friday. And right now testing, because I want to get more patients to my therapist without the financial hurdle being in the way. And so even for folks that can pay it, that live on Park Ave and Fifth Ave or whatever, but just sometimes the folks that are insurance minded or they work in healthcare, I was just telling Jimmy, like we have a semi-retired physician that my therapist Boris is seeing today. And so I'm testing right now at $200 intro visit where it's the full hour. And then also like for that physician today, I just said, hey, first visit's on us. Like we don't even need a card on file. If you love Boris, if you find value in him in our service, and if you like him and you want to move forward for your situation, your orthopedic issue, then the second visit is $350 and onward, or Monday through Friday, whatever. So what are your thoughts on, like, for any therapist out there that's self-pay, whatever the rates are? We talked about rates. If they're at $150 a visit, $175, $200, it doesn't matter. Whatever the rate is, what are your thoughts on like an intro offer where they pay something, but it's like, I don't know, 25 or 50% of the full rate versus 0? I think there's pros and cons of both, because like 0, you're going to get more conversions, but you're not going to find, you might have more tire kickers and you might not find people that are actually spending. So it sometimes benefits us by charging 50 to 150 or 200 or whatever, like for the first visit, like maybe $50, $100, 150 something, versus 0. But there's pros and cons with you charge $100 and you're going to get a little bit less. You'll get some conversions, not as much as 0, but then you're going to weed out the tire kickers. So what are your thoughts around this?
Do it only when you have availability. Like make it scarce. When you need to fill, offer it. When you don't. You're in control of that, right? I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I always go back and forth on these, ideas. I'm like, well, I generally am opposed to free anything up front. I'll give away everything after you prove yourself, after you get a client. But in the beginning, I've never been a fan of that. Free samples, free offers, none of that stuff really makes sense in this. And I think you have to look at, okay, so if I'm going to discount or give away a free session and I'm averaging 6 sessions per POC, why don't I just dollar cost average it and just lower the price on everything? What is the ultimate purpose of free? Am I trying to reduce risk? If I'm trying to reduce risk and say, look, you can come and I'm not even going to charge you, I can do that other ways. I think I can do that more effectively other ways. I can do video to show them what we're going to do so they know exactly what's happening. That's going to reduce risk. If I'm trying to reward taking action, hey, Dave, this has been a problem for 6 months. You really need to do something about it. I want to reward you for taking action. I can do that a different way. I think we have to understand what is the intent of what you're deciding to do. And then is there a better way to achieve that goal?
All right. Let's do this exercise. So the intent obviously is for more conversion. So more new clients to convert, like have one visit, experience our offer, our value. That's like step one. And then step two is like lifetime value. So like if you love our service and you want to continue to use us, like it could be for weeks or months or years. And ideally we have some folks that stay with us for many, many years. So that is the intent, at least for us. I think, foundationally, I think that's the intent for most therapists that would ever listen to the show. So then what would you build around that? How else would you manufacture the front end offer for that?
I think for me, for you, it would be video. It would be building that relationship before the patient ever contacts me, getting them to see everything that I do, everything that I say, understand my treatment philosophy. And I can just tell you back to the beginning of when I got on today, I said, my HVAC guy, I want to pay him more because I feel like I'm taking advantage of him, and that doesn't make me feel good. If you offered me a free session, I would not feel comfortable with that. I already know you are a professional. I already know your value. I already know you can solve the problem. I don't want it for free. I want to pay you so we have a fair compensation and relationship. And I feel like if those are the people you want, then, they're going to feel the same way. Video is the best way to educate. But if somebody's watching this and they're like, I don't want to do video, then you got to figure out a different way to build those relationships. Professional networking, whatever it is. Yes, you can offer the free or discounted, but I don't think it's the best way to achieve that outcome.
You guys have ever been to BJ's and Costco where they give out the little food samples with like a
great example. I never take a food sample. I could be starving. I will never go up there and take a food sample because Tony, I don't want.
They have found that is profitable. That is more profitable than not doing it. They give away free food. Now, they're not giving away the whole bag, but, let's say, okay, Tony is out because sometimes with the analogies, he's just totally out. Okay, Jimmy, you're back in the combo. So Jimmy, let's say, Jimmy tries, I don't know, like a veggie gyoza, a little, little pasta covered, veggie pressed together thingy, right? A little veggie gyoza. Jimmy's never had, I'm sure you have, but if Jimmy never had a veggie gyoza ever in his life, and he had a half a gyoza on a toothpick at BJ's, he ends up buying one of those bags. He takes it home, he makes it in the microwave or the stovetop and broils it or fries it or, cooks it or whatever. And there's enough critical mass of customers like Jimmy that literally never would have bought that bag of veggie gyoza if it was not a free sample. So I don't always like the free stuff because of the concierge, premium value of it, but it absolutely works. And it can work for pricing and getting someone that never even knew that they wanted, or, some folks think physical therapy is just like the hospital outpatient office or Tony style, where it's like a bunch of equipment and it's busy and it's fun and, jokes and all that. But our style of therapy is different than Tony's, and Jimmy may not have had any understanding that ours even existed because he thought, Tony's style of physical therapy, that was physical therapy, but there's enough customers that want both. And sometimes we need to be creative. So that anyway, BJ's and Costco, they have figured out that they give away free food, and that's more profitable than not giving away free samples.
Yeah, I think low cost, high impulse is food, right? It's because you can have one person stand there for $6 and give away little cups, single serving, and you can do it at mass. And is that going to make me buy? There's a chance, right? Because I've tried it, but I can't tell what that tastes like by licking the bag And I'm not too adventurous when it comes to food. I am boring and I sort of stay on what I have until I try something. Have you guys tried True Fruit? This is like frozen fruit covered in chocolate. I wouldn't have bought it. And then someone gave it to me, and now it's like crack, and you should buy it. And you know, just you use my promo code as I drop it below. No. So we expect food almost to be sampled. It's like an expectation, right? Like, try this. I'll give you a sample. But you can cook one pizza and divide it up. You can't do that with a therapist. Like,
and I would say to Jimmy's point, there's a scale component, right?
Right.
You can take a whole lot of free samples and give them away to thousands of people. You can't do that with a free session or a discount session. Two, you're going to be there with that person for 30 minutes, an hour. Like, you can't get away. Like, I could take something, I don't like it, and spit it out.
Right.
I can't do that if I'm sitting there with you. The pressure of you looking at me, expecting me to buy, expecting me to love what you're doing, even if I don't love it, like, that is unreasonable. Again, as a consumer, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to take a free massage from somebody I don't know. I'm never going to take a free dental appointment from a dentist I don't know. I am never going to go into those situations. The people who do, I think they're a little bit weird. I just think that that's not the client any of us want.
Hey, come over here. There's this guy who drives around this elementary school and he just gives away free candy. Seems legit. Kids seem to love it. Parents are up in arms. Yeah, when you put it in different contexts, this thing, like, all these strategies do not apply cookie cutter to everything else. Products versus services, expected or social or societal norms versus not. And I think the only way to change that is doing it.
As we're closing the show, I will say, Dave, I do it all the time. I've got a wife out there. I'm like, hey, why don't you just get your husband to come in? No charge. I'm not going to press.
Hey, Larry, it's the same thing. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
So I want to say, like, I have done that. I do that. I'm like, look, just come in. We'll make him feel better. And then if he wants to do therapy, he can do it.
Hey, there you go. Listen, so Tony's using Shockwave, the softwave machine, the TRT, that company. I know that company, their whole, like, they train therapists and chiropractors to use the device. And Tony, what is the offer? What is how do they present it? Because as far as I know, it's like $49 or $50 for the first visit. And this is all from Matt DeDuro, the chief marketing officer for Softwave.
Right.
It's like a $49 or $50.
They want you to see it first.
Intro visit. You get to experience the treatment for like $50. And then they coach therapists and chiros on, like, well, if whatever the orthopedic issue is, then it's going to be 6 or 8 or whatever sessions. You sell whatever that package is, but it's like $100-something or whatever for all the visits if you priced it out. But it's like a lower intro offer. Why? So you get to kind of experience it and feel the difference, because you've never had a machine like this before. You've most likely never had a modality like this before. Right. So let's charge something, not zero, but let's not charge $150 for the first visit, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. I don't do it. That's what they do. There's a lot of successful therapists that are using that strategy all day long.
All right, parting shots.
So from my perspective, I still think it boils down to everybody watching this right now. I don't think any of us are running $10 million businesses. We're all running lifestyle businesses.
Not yet.
We're all running lifestyle businesses. I'm here because I enjoy doing it. And I'm going to do the things that I enjoy, even if it's at the expense or the sacrifice of making more money. So, if you're happy, you're happy. Like a million versus 10 million versus 20 million, I don't think it makes a difference.
Oh, so you're speaking from, you have all this real estate and all this other stuff. So he's already got a portfolio. He's already made. He's already good. Parting shots. Yeah. Just going back to pricing, getting creative with pricing. I really appreciate everyone's commenting here live with Scott and everyone else, because the pricing stuff actually can cover up, challenges, cash flow issues, in my opinion, over time. Like, if you're not raising rates on people, if you're not, like Tony said, if you're not giving them reasons, and Jimmy mentioned also, if you're not giving reasons as to why you're doing price raises, because there's more coaching, there's more value, the therapists are learning more, they're getting more results, and they're able to deliver better performance and better outcomes for your situation. Raising prices is huge. We also never learned any of this, obviously, in physical therapy schools. So it's a huge component. Pricing is, I think, the biggest lever in regards to top line revenue and oftentimes bottom line profits in your practice. And I think it's just super overlooked, and there needs to be a strategy around it, because otherwise most therapists just don't raise rates on existing clients or patients. They just kind of feel bad. And like Tony said, we just want to be, serving everyone. So definitely consider price raising. We just gave a whole bunch of strategies on how to do it.
Yeah. If you believe you're worth more, charge more. If you don't. And if you don't charge more, but you think you're worth more, you're going to be annoyed.
That's on you. Yeah.
And it's on you, unless you're working for someone else. And then if you're working for someone else, we'll see you in the Facebook group comments, because that's where you're going to be.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE, painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.